Hello, good morning. I am Pauliine Sild, and I get to be the lucky first today. But first, could we all take a moment and breathe in and out? Thank you, that was mostly for me. But let's begin. First, I would like you to imagine a regular workday. You sit down, you make a to-do list. You know exactly what needs to be done, and you are ready to start. But then you don't. Not because you don't want to, or because you are lazy, or you don't care, but because your brain just isn't cooperating. It's like having the perfect plan, but no mental bridge to reach it. Everyone can have moments like this. But for someone with ADHD, this can be their daily reality. One person from my user research said, "I didn't look at the list I made, where everything was written down that I needed to do. I keep forgetting to even check the list." But why ADHD? There are 3 reasons. First, it's quite common. I think most of us here know someone who has ADHD. Second, I've always been interested in psychology because most of my life I have felt as if I don't quite fit in, as if the systems around me were designed for somebody else. And third, my own diagnosis. My personal journey with ADHD is what sparked this project. I decided to focus on work because for most adults, that's where struggles with ADHD become most visible, like missing deadlines, struggling to prioritize or start. And most workplaces aren't designed for neurodivergent minds. I wanted to explore how interaction design could support people with ADHD in these everyday work struggles. ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, affects the brain's executive functions, which are the mental skills that help us plan, prioritize, focus, and take action. So when someone with ADHD is struggling to manage their time or start, it's not about willpower. It's about the real neurological barrier called executive dysfunction, which really simply put means that the systems in the brain that support action are not working as they should. One user from the research said, "I wish I would have done some of the tasks in the morning that I left for later because I ended up not doing them." There was a clear gap between intention and action, and that is the gap I wanted to explore. I started by looking at 3 key areas: time management, prioritization, and task initiation. But I quickly realized how deeply connected they are. If you can't prioritize, it's hard to start. If you can't start, time slips away. It was difficult to see where design could step in. The scope was too broad. So I decided to narrow my scope by doing a week-long probe study with adults who have ADHD to understand how challenges with these areas actually show up in real life. I ran a week-long probe study with 4 adults who have ADHD. They worked in education, IT, and design. Each day, they filled out to-do lists. Before work, they described their expectations for the day, and after the workday, they described what really happened. They tracked their emotions and answered questions about their workday. At the end of the week, they reflected on how things had gone. I got a glimpse into their lived experiences and saw the gap between their intentions and what actually happened. And it helped me narrow my focus to one specific moment, the moment just before starting. Even when they had a clear plan, it was hard to start. Not because they didn't care, but because something blocked them. Emotional barriers, like shame, fear of failure, and frustration, were also common. And while deadlines sometimes helped, they also created more stress. The biggest insight was that starting was the hardest part. As one person said, "I know what I need to do, I just can't start." This led me to the question, how might we reduce anxiety and reliance on external pressure so that adults with ADHD could initiate tasks more easily? To explore this, I ran 4 one-on-one co-creation sessions. Together, we mapped out their task initiation journeys step by step. We brainstormed bad ideas to lower the pressure and think more freely, and we turned insights into potential solutions. Most participants had never broken down their process this way. One participant said, "I've never thought about what's actually in my way." These sessions revealed 3 things. Analyzing your own process can be really helpful. There are many different reasons someone might get stuck, and understanding the barrier might be the first step forward. That's when I realized that maybe fixing the problem isn't the goal. Most tools for ADHD focus on productivity. Do more, do better, do faster. But when you're already stuck, that kind of pressure can make things worse. What if the goal wasn't doing more, but noticing what's in the way? This became the core of my design concept. Now, I would like to show you what I created, and as I do, I'll walk you through the 5 design principles that guided my decisions. Let's start with the first design principle, which was to make it tangible. People with ADHD often benefit from tools that are physical and visible. Out of sight, out of mind is something that comes up a lot in ADHD conversations. Digital tools can be helpful, but when you're overwhelmed, they're easy to ignore. That's why I wanted to create something that's always present, something you can see, flip through, and write in. The result is a physical tool with 2 parts, a reflective workbook and a set of support cards, both designed for those stuck moments, whether you're working from home or in an office. The workbook is for slower moments, when you have space and time to reflect. It guides the user to map out their task initiation process. It asks questions that help to analyze the journey and identify barriers. It's best to use before or after the workday to help make sense of what's happening under the surface. The cards are for more the moment itself, when you are stuck and can't start. They're portable, visible, and easy to grab. You can keep them on your desk, in your bag, or as one person said, put them on your walls. I keep mine in my bag. The cards are divided into 3 categories: clarity, emotion, and motivation, based on the kind of barrier you're facing. If the user has worked through the workbook, they'll have a better idea of which type of support they could need. But even without it, the categories are intuitive, and sometimes just flipping through them is enough to spark a small shift. The second principle was to empower, not fix. A lot of ADHD advice can feel like criticism. Try harder, do better, be more organized. I wanted this tool to have a different tone. It's not about changing who you are. It's about working with how your brain works. The cards don't give commands. They offer suggestions. For example, when the barrier is fear of making mistakes, the card suggests to make mistakes on purpose. Imagine that your goal was to do something as badly as possible. Come up with only bad ideas, or create the worst plan for your task. This can unlock some good ideas, just because you are allowing your brain to think without fear. Or when the barrier is boredom, another card suggests to pair the task with pleasure. If the task is boring, add something that isn't. Put on a movie, eat some ice cream, or put on a cozy blanket. It's not cheating. You're just building the bridge. You need to get to the task. This principle also shows up in the second half of the workbook. This section works like a regular notebook, encouraging reflection. But between the pages, you'll find gentle reframes of common advice. For example, when someone says, "Just pull yourself together," you can reframe it and instead think of it as, "Just pull one tiny thread and the rest will follow." It's a small shift in tone, from pressure to compassion. The third principle was to create positive emotion. Struggling to start can bring up feelings like shame, frustration, and anxiety. So the design needed to feel supportive and self-compassionate, not pressuring or critical. That's where the monster character comes in. The idea first came up during a co-creation session when one person said, "I turn tasks into monsters before I even know what the task actually is." The monster doesn't represent the task or the person. It represents the invisible barrier in between. And by turning the barrier into something silly and playful, it becomes easier to face. The tool is deliberately light. The monster is silly, the visuals are soft, and the language is friendly. It's designed to reduce pressure and make getting started feel less overwhelming. The last two principles were to keep it simple and be adaptable. People with ADHD often feel overwhelmed by tools that are too complex or too rigid. So I designed this to be easy to pick up and easy to make your own. The tool gives you one step at a time, one small shift. You can write in the workbook every day or once a month. You can pull a card because you are stuck or just curious. That's what makes it adaptable. It adjusts to your life instead of forcing you to adjust to it. Originally, I imagined this tool being used in work settings, but where I ended up was something more flexible, because stuck moments don't only happen at work, and support shouldn't be limited to just one context. And this tool isn't about doing more. It's about helping people understand what's getting in the way, and offering just enough support to take the first small step forward.
Imagine a regular workday. You make a to-do list, and you are ready to start. You focus. Tasks get done one by one. It feels good to move forward. But not every day goes like this. Everyone has days when getting started feels hard. But for someone with ADHD, this can be their daily reality. The tasks are there, but so are the barriers. They are like monsters who are telling you, "You will fail. It's never going to be good enough. Just give up." So you give up. You do whatever helps to silence the monsters. This is where the task monster comes in. The task monster is here to help you figure out what's making it hard to start. Right now, in this moment. Together, you'll create a map that shows how your task initiation usually looks like. Step by step, you begin to notice what's really in your way. This is the moment you are able to see what's actually holding you back. Now, you can choose a card, a small nudge to help you take the next step. Sometimes that's all it takes, a different way to start. The task monster isn't about productivity, it's about compassion. Getting to know your barriers and finding ways to gently move forward.
I'm gonna give the... So you can watch them as I finish. So I tested the tool with 5 adults who have ADHD and 2 mental health professionals. I asked for feedback on clarity, usefulness, and emotional tone. The responses were really positive. People said it felt empowering, relatable, and gentle, something they'd actually want to use. I made small changes based on the feedback, like improved contrast, made the card categories more clear, but overall the core structure stayed the same. This is what the users said. At first I thought it would be too overwhelming, but actually it wasn't at all. It was balanced enough, and I thought I might actually do it. Another person said, "These pink cards are mega cool." They feel ADHD friendly, not like regular productivity advice. Even just imagining doing what they suggest helps. The expert said, "The way you tell the user to be honest, that's really important. It makes them stop and really think about things. It emphasizes that we are humans, and the way we are is okay. There are no wrong or right humans, just humans who do things in different ways." So what's next? Based on the feedback and my own personal connection to this project, I have decided to do everything I can to turn this into a real, accessible product. I'd love to collaborate more with mental health professionals and also design a version for therapists to use. That's something they expressed interest in. I have also been asked about the digital version, and that is something I would consider in the future. Several people have also requested an Estonian version. Most importantly, I have realized this tool isn't just helpful for adults with ADHD at work. In the future, I'd love to test it more widely, with people of different ages, backgrounds, and also without an ADHD diagnosis. My hope is that this project reminds people struggling to start isn't a failure, and sometimes even the smallest nudge can help us move forward. This won't solve everything, but it might nudge you just enough to get the ball rolling. Thank you.